Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of an extra slice of history with the Butterfly Princess. This week, we are continuing our series where I'm explaining to you and taking you on a journey about the seven wonders of the ancient world. This week, I'm telling you about the next ancient wonder of the world on my list, which is the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. These Hanging Gardens of Babylon were, of course, located within the ancient city of Babylon. This was a very vibrant and important city during the ancient world. Out of all the seven wonders of the ancient world, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, there are a lot of belief within some historical scholars who believe that, who even question that were the gardens of Babylon actually real, or did they actually exist? So there's a few questions whether it's just been whether it was actually a real thing, or it was just a figure of the ancient world imagination. So Babylon was sort of the capital city of the new Babylonian Empire. As I've said, during the ancient world, this was a very important city. These gardens were said to have been built by a very great and successful king of Babylon, who was known as Nebuchadnezzar II, and he ruled from the year 605 to 562 BCE. And not only do some scholars actually question whether the Hanging Gardens of Babylon actually existed, there is some questions and some debates as to where the Hanging Gardens was actually located. It is commonly believed that the Hanging Gardens were located in Babylon, hence the name the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. But there is also some speculation as to whether the Hanging Gardens could have been located in a different city known as this city was called Navarre. I hope I've pronounced that right. If I haven't, I will give you the spelling. So it's November, India, November, Echo, Victor, Echo, Hotel. And this was the capital city of what was known as the Assyrian Empire. There are some scholars who are still awaiting actual archaeological proof that will provide the exact location and whether these gardens actually existed. Now, if you've actually There have been archaeological digs on what was known as Babylon, and known as Babylon, and some of the ancient Babylon. There has been archaeological digs on the ancient city of Babylon. They have been taking place throughout the years, and there've also been a lot of investigation into the text of the Babylonian. However, having said this, there is no such mention. There is no such mention within these ancient Babylonian texts, or archaeological digs that have taken place at Babylon. There have been no specific mention of these so-called ancient gardens. And I'm putting it in air quotes here because there is, like I mentioned before, there is some sort of belief that it was just a figment of someone's imagination. It came out of a story or whatever. However, having said that, if you look into some of ancient writers who were writing at the time of the ancient world, they do describe these hanging gardens as actually being located in the Nebuchadnezzar capital of Babylon. And these gardens were still in existence during Hellenistic times. Whenever we refer to the term Hellenistic, it always relates to ancient Greek times. So when we use the word Hellenistic, it refers to that of the world of ancient Greece. And the reason why these hanging gardens of Babylon are the most captivating sort of all the seven wonders of the world. This is because they are so captivating because these are shrouded in mystery. We don't even, like we said, we don't even know for certain if these actually gardens existed. Because we don't even know, for one, we don't know if they actually existed, so that's one mystery. The second mystery is if they did exist, where was the exact location? And the third mystery is, if they did exist, how and why did they suddenly disappear? Because there's, unlike, some of the, like when we discussed the Great Pyramids of Giza last week, there is still some remains of that where people can go and visit it, but there is no remains of these hanging gardens of Babylon. So it's all very mysterious, and that is why it's so such an alluring prospect, why people are still fascinated and discuss it even to this day. So who was Nebuchadnezzar II, and where was Babylon actually located during the years of the ancient world? So the city of ancient Babylon, which we've already discussed, was a very important and vibrant city, is said to be located about 850 miles south of the modern city of Baghdad, which Baghdad is the modern capital city of modern day Iraq. Um, and this the city of Babylon does actually have a very fascinating history. This was a city that did exist in the ancient world. They have a history that says settlement actually took place, can date back. So people settled in what became known as the city of Babylon, which is now the modern day city of Baghdad in Iraq. That settlement of peoples does actually date back way back in time to the third millennium to be precise, BCE. And it was also this was also the greatest period in the history this was also the greatest period of the history of the city. Sorry, the greatest period of history of the city of Babylon was actually during the sixth century BCE. This was during the reign of a king by the name of Nebuchadnezzar, known as Nebuchadnezzar the second. And this was a time when the city of Babylon was in actual fact the capital of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The actual Babylonian Empire had actually been founded by Nebuchadnezzar's second's father, who ruled from 625 B from 625, and the father of Nebuchadnezzar, who discovered this ancient city, who had founded this ancient city, was ruled between the years of 625 to 605 BC. So he ruled for a period of 20 years. And he actually was able to bask and celebrate in a number of victories over the Assyrian Empire. Under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar, the son, so the next in line to the throne, so to speak, even greater things would befall upon the ancient city of Babylon. The forces of Nebuchadnezzar was able to capture the city of Jerusalem, and they captured the city in the year of 597 BCE. After his forces had captured the city of Jerusalem, his next task was to go about creating so once Nebuchadnezzar's forces had captured the city of Jerusalem, His next task was then that he wanted to carry out was that the fact that he wanted to create this new city and make it the capital and make it a very splendid capital that would be envied throughout the whole world. Something known as the Ishtar Gate was built in the year of 575 BCE. The Ishtar Gate consisted of a number of fine towers, as well as depictions in tiles of animals, both real and imaginary. It also the gate also included a 7 to 20 kilometre brick double wall, and this would enabled the city to be surrounded and both. It didn't only serve to surround the city, the wall also served as a great protector of the city. Um, um, there is a belief among many scholars, and many scholars do actually believe and agree with this, that this idea that the hanging gardens of Babylon, if they actually indeed did exist, then Nebuchadnezzar purely created these gardens, if they existed at all. These gardens were in actual fact created just for the purpose of pure pleasure. Because like in many days, many of the gardens of the ancient world were there to serve as a production line, to produce food and so forth, so people could sustain life on Earth. But it is believed that many scholars that if they did actually exist, then they were created purely for the means of pleasure. Um, um, and shortly after this was created, word soon spread like wildfire throughout the Mediterranean world. So much so that when we finally get to the Hellenistic period, the time of the ancient Greeks, they were also creating their own private gardens that they could enjoy within the image of the ancient gardens of Babylon. Um, it's interesting to know that these gardens within the ancient world weren't just there to, for the purpose of growing flowers, and then the beautiful flowers that were grown in the gardens could then be enjoyed. Other things were within the gardens of the ancient world, such as archaeological sculptures and water features, and even the views and the landscape was actually taken into consideration when the ancient landscape gardener was sort of designing these gardens. And it's also interesting to know that because the gardens became such a desired feature throughout all the Mediterranean ancient world and the Hellenistic period, that paintings known as frescoes that were very popular throughout Pompeii. You know, we see, like, if you've ever seen like any archaeological programs on the city of Pompeii, you will know that you will have seen that they have actually discovered fresco paintings of mural wall paintings of daily life in the world of Pompeii. So these Pompeian frescoes didn't only give the impression that when you were entering a garden, a room, you weren't just entering a room, because these frescoes were able to decorate, you know, different walls throughout the ancient house. It sort of gave off the impression that when you were entering a room of a house, you weren't just entering a room, but you were also entering a garden also. What was known as the hanging gardens of Babylon were also known under a different name, um, called, I'll spell it out because I can't pronounce it. So this was the other name it was known as, or referred to as, and this name is Sierra Echo Mike India Romeo Alpha Mike Mike India Sierra, and it was known by this alternative name because it was said to have been named after an ancient from a semi-divine um, from a semi-divine Assyrian ruler. Now, it's more interesting to know as well that this semi-divine Assyrian ruler was also thought to have been female, because it's an interesting point to make that, because as we've discussed during the many episodes of a slice of history and an extra slice of history, is that it was very unusual for female rulers to rule within the ancient and medieval world. So being led by a female ruler in the ancient or the medieval times were very rare indeed. Um, 1 minute. So there aren't many writings available about the ancient gardens of Babylon. In fact, there is only a very, very ancient source that talks about the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and this was actually written by a priest that goes by the name of Bel 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 Usra. Belusra, and we don't have many we don't have many of these we don't have many of these works today by this priest, but in fact the things that do actually survive from the work of this priest is actually only as what we say is quoted text. Having said this, although little survives of his work, his texts have also been corroborated by a lot of archaeologists who have actually carried out archaeological finds within the sites of Babylon. Um, a minute. So that concludes this week's edition of An Extra Slice of History with the Butterfly Princess. What we have is that in conclusion, I'd say is that we know there are some arguments for and against why, if and when the Hanging Gardens of Babylon actually existed, but we don't know in actual fact if they did. But there have been many archaeological finds that have supported that the possibility that they were actually in existence. Next week, I hope you can join me for next week because we're going to be discussing the third ancient wonder of the world, which is the Colossus of Rome. So thank you for joining me this week. I hope you can join me again next week for the next instalment within this mini series. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.